Welcome to Reflect on This. Hello, I am Johnny Henshaw. Many years ago, I discovered that I could use my passion for research and analysis to also discover important truths from God's Word and then apply them to my life in tangible ways. So if you want to learn more about the ways and nature of God in practical ways that you can actually apply to your life, keep listening. And check out the show notes to find additional info and resources. So let's get started. Please join me today as we reflect on this. I have continued to enjoy reading The Pleasure of His Company, a wonderful book by Dutch Sheets. In chapter 16, he shares how he gained a wonderful insight into God's ways and nature as he slowly snuck up on a small herd of elk and watched them from just 20 yards away. Sheets writes the following: "One of the things that intrigued me most was the twitching of their ears. Ever vigilant, each time they heard a sound, their ears would prick up in order to hear it even better. Whether eating, drinking, or taking a step, they were always diligent to listen for a potential threat, because their lives depended on it. As I watched them, the pricking up of their ears reminded me of a word I had studied. I recalled that this was the literal meaning of one of the Hebrew words for listening, kashab, which means to prick up the ears like an animal coming to alertness. This live picture, painted by the elk, was indeed worth 1,000 words. My understanding of giving attention to the Lord's words went to a whole new level as I watched the ever-vigilant ears of the elk. Always listen diligently for His voice, as though your life depends on it, is what came to my mind. No matter what else you happen to be doing, remain tuned in to Him." End quote. Here is one of the Old Testament passages that uses this Hebrew word, kashab, from Proverbs 4, verses 20 through 23. "My son, pay attention to what I say. Tune your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to one's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Notice the passage starts off with the phrase, "My son, pay attention to what I say." The Hebrew word there for pay attention is kashab. This passage contains much insight into the human heart. As I reflected upon the first verse of this passage, with this new understanding of this Hebrew word, it was as if God was telling me, "My son, always listen diligently for my voice, as though your life depends on it." This is not just during our devotional time with God, it is throughout the day. As Sheets said, no matter what else you happen to be doing, remain tuned in to Him. Recently, as I was sitting before the Lord, enjoying His presence, and reflecting further upon this new insight, the Lord seemed to speak to me and say, "As you learn to listen more diligently to me, your love for me will grow." I then asked the Lord why listening more diligently leads to greater love. He seemed to reply, "To whoever we give more of our attention, we are giving them more of our heart." This association of giving our heart to God and giving attention to and observing God is confirmed in the following verse, Proverbs 23:26. "My son, give me your heart, and let your eyes observe and give attention to my ways." This verse is advice from a wise father, Solomon, to his son. This verse encourages us to give our attention to and listen to those that are father figures to us, such as our earthly father, our spiritual fathers and mentors, and others who have imparted wisdom to us. It can also refer to God speaking to His spiritual children. In other words, God is speaking to us, imploring us to give our hearts to Him and to observe intently and give our attention to His ways and nature. Since we are made in the image of God, this principle also applies to our relationships with people. To whoever we give more of our attention, we are giving them more of our heart. Let's go back and review the last verse of today's passage. Verse 23 warns us that above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Because of this warning, then I believe that we should be very careful about the people to whom we give a lot of attention, because that is a way of guarding our heart. Will you join me in purposing to give my attention and my heart first and foremost to God, and then to the people that God has given me to love, serve, and protect? Today, I encourage you to reflect on this.